So welcome back. This is going to be kinda exercise video that we are going to recreate this Spotify player page into our design with some minor adjustments because we don't have access to their icons. So we will use our feather icons plugin, but basically we will try to recreate this screen, okay? So first what I did is created this frame with 393 width and 852 height, okay? And this is just normal frame for the iPhone 14 and 15 Pro, okay? And I created that and copied the album cover from Tears for Fears, which is going to be 346 by 346. You can find it on the Google Images or wherever. Literally just find some picture that you like and we will try to recreate as it is, okay? So firstly, what we need to do is to recreate this background, okay? And basically what we are going to do is, this is radial gradient, as we are seeing that gradient is starting kind of here with some yellowish tint and going around with some purple, dark purple stuff. So what we are going to do is go to the fill option, go to the gradient and select radial. And let's change it to maybe this, because we can see the center, we can see the circle is going around here, but the center is around here probably. So let's create it somewhere here and let's maybe try to make it bigger, for example, like this, okay? And what we need to do is basically just use our pick tool and select the gradient color from this side and select the other color from this side, okay? And we are going to see what we are going to get. So basically we kind of get the similar results. What I would like maybe to do is change this color a little bit more to the yellowish side so we can see it more properly, okay? So yeah, that should be it for the background. It's not exactly the same, but we are seeing that this is just some gradient. And maybe what you can do even is change this color, maybe to move it to the gradient stop position of 60% or something like that. Let's say 65, and let's add another one at the end, which can be maybe something a little bit more darker, maybe even more brownish, like this one, okay? So basically now we have the background. What I'm going to do is just place this picture in the middle. For example, let's say we are going to place it, for example, axis 24, okay, and 23, and let's say the height, let's say the Y position, we can place it maybe 148, for example, something like that. It doesn't really need to be exactly the same, but what I would like maybe to do is, as I'm seeing, there is kind of difference between the margins on the left and on the right. So what I'm going to do is just click on this picture and hold the option key just to maybe cut it by 1 pixel. And now we have, let's move it in the middle. Yeah, still doesn't work. Okay, so basically when we have our picture in the middle, the next thing what we need to do is to add our icons on the screen. So basically I'm going to use the feather icons plugin, and let's select few icons from there. So first I'm going to select this one, okay? I'm going to select maybe the dots that we are seeing right here. So let's find those dots, okay? Now we have those dots. Let's see what's next. We have a heart icon, so let's just type it heart, okay? Basically we have a heart. Let's see the play option maybe. Okay, it's not the play. Let's try to find it. Okay, we have our pause, but maybe we can create it with rectangles. So I'm not going to do that, but let's select this icon for the previous song and the next skip icon. What we also have is this like don't recommend icon. So let's try and see if there's something similar to that. Okay, I looked through the icons and there isn't any icon like that, or I'm not seeing it right, so I would just use this icon. Okay, and what we need is this kind of share with a computer or device and share icon. So basically let's just find something similar to that. We can have this speaker icon, which is totally fine for our designs, and let's see the share icon. Okay, here it is. So basically we have all of our icons. I'm going to place them on the screen. One is missing. Let's see. Okay, so basically we have all of our icons. I'm going to create this one with circle and rectangle, but what we are going to do is select all of those icons, and we have selection color, and we can change that to the white. Okay, and the thing is that what we can do even to make it a little bit more prettier is to maybe try to match the background color, or what you can do is basically just lower the opacity by just small margin, for example like 65 or let's say 70%. Okay, so basically we now have kind of different white tint to them. Okay, and what we need to do is basically try to arrange them properly. For example, the distance between those icons can be, let's say, 64 from the top. So we are going to have one icon here and one icon on the right. Let's set the distance to 24. Okay, and what we need is a heart icon, maybe somewhere around here. We need this rewind skip icon right here, for example. Don't recommend, device select, and share. The next thing what we need is the text for the screens, so let's type Tears for Fears. Okay, and what we are going to use is interfont. Let's say it's going to be, for this top one, can be maybe semi-bold with a font size of, let's say, 13. Let's see how it's going to look like. Okay, now it's looking great. Basically we try to create it kind of similar to that one, and let's duplicate the text and type in the middle women in chains. Okay, and here what we can do is just type our artist names, and also what we need is basically the time that song is being played, so -6/26. Okay, and I think that's it for the text for this screen. Yeah, it is. Okay, let's now see what size of this font we can get. I would maybe try to see if maybe the bold one can glue good, and let's set 32, for example. Oh, that's too big. Let's set 28, 24. Yeah, I think that's right. Maybe 24 is totally fine. I'm seeing that maybe here the font is slightly, it's kind of the same. So basically we have exactly the right size of the font. And basically for this one, what we can do is maybe just try to size it up. For example, 16 is solid. Okay, change it to the, let's see, maybe regular, and let's set opacity to 70%. Okay, and let's see, for this one we can also set the percentage opacity to 70%. What we need is a line that goes below that one, so we can use the line or rectangle, but In this case, I'm going to use the line. Let's just draw it. Okay, place it to the middle. And let's see, maybe the width of that can be, let's see how the 3 pixels is looking. Let's see the 4. Okay, 4 is fine. And let's set opacity to 70%, even lower for that one. So let's try and see how we can match it. For example, something like this. So 28% can work. Let's duplicate that one, holding Alt or Option key. And let's change this opacity to 70%. Try to shorten it like this. And maybe create short line like that. And let's select both of those. Go to the options here and see what we can choose. Okay, not there. We can go to the round and basically select the round to left and right side. So now it's kind of looking much prettier. Also, what we can do is maybe create the kind of rounding or radius option for the album cover, for example by 8 pixels, for example, just to slightly make it more appealing. And what we are going to do next is basically big central icon. So let's create this. Let's say the size is going to be around 60 pixels. I think that's fine. Nope. Let's see what they are going for. It's 64 pixels, around something like that. Let's set the fill to pure white and opacity to 70%. Okay. And let's see our 24 by, for example, let's see, maybe 5 or even it's 24 by, I think it's 6. Okay, 24 by 6. And let's change the color to background one, duplicate it. Okay, hold them and place them in the middle. But what we can do as well is maybe create the fill to the 100%. And we are going to have exactly the same icon as they have. Or what we can do is create the gradient option, for example. And what we can do is maybe change the direction to kind of 45 degrees. And basically what we can do is select the white and lower the opacity on this one. Okay, so basically we can do the gradient option on the play button. Okay, next thing what we need to do is just to align the elements in the center by align horizontal centers with this one. Okay, maybe try to lower it down. It doesn't really matter too much where it is. You just need to try to recreate the kind of the same angles and positions as possibly you can. So basically I'm just trying to manage everything in the center. Let's group those items as well. Let's select it in the center and move it slightly up. Let's also change these two tags to regular and select size 11. I think it's fine. So move them, for example, by 8 pixels below the line on the exact sides. Okay, and now what we can do is basically try to align these elements in the center. Let's move this one to the edge, for example 24. Okay, and let's move those ones as well to the 24. Let's move them 64 pixels from the below. The thing with those icons, they're kind of smaller. So what we can do is basically click the key K button on the keyboard, and we are going to see the scale, and we can type 20 by 20. Okay, and we can do the same thing for this one. So just type 20 and enter, and it's going to be a little bit smaller, and the size of the outlines is going to stay exactly the same. So let's just arrange them properly again. So basically what we done is just recreated the screen from the Spotify into our possibilities as we can. So using by our default plugins from the Figma, just using normal fonts, normal images, and normal gradients, and we kind of did a great job with recreating this image. But now what we are going to do next is going back to the R project.